HR issues can kill you. One complaint against your company can turn your world upside down. And you spend way too much time dealing with HR when you should be spending your time on making a profit. You should talk to Bambi. With Bambi, get access to your own dedicated US-based HR manager starting at just $99 per month. They get to know you and your business while providing HR expertise and the personal touch you need and want. They're available by phone, email, and real-time chat, so onboarding and terminations run smoothly. Team members reach peak performance, and your business stays compliant with changing HR regulations. And with Bambi's HR Autopilot, you'll automate important HR practices like setting policies, training, and feedback. HR managers can easily cost $80,000 a year, but Bambi starts at $99 per month. Schedule your free conversation today to see how much Bambi can take off your plate. Go to Bambi.com right now and type in Accelerate under podcast when you sign up. It'll really help the show. Spelled BAM, BEE.com. Bambi.com. Type in Accelerate.
Me, but also you. The Pharaoh fast forwards his favorite foreign film, Powder Donut. Okay, what's my line?
The only line I see here on the script is get options based on your budget with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive.
Oh man, that's a tongue twister, huh? I'm sorry, I'm gonna need a few more minutes. Bulbous Walrus, the Bulbous Walrus.
The Name Your Price tool, only from Progressive.
The owl ran afoul of the comatose coxswain.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Welcome to Accelerate Your Business Growth with your host, Diane Helbig. Diane is a leading small business development and leadership coach, author, and speaker who is passionate about sharing valuable ideas, tips, and techniques with business professionals worldwide. Diane brings you the world's experts and gurus in all things business, whether it's sales, structure, social media, planning, or plateauing. Guests bring their expertise and energy to each episode. When growing your business is your focus, Accelerate Your Business Growth is the show to listen to. Got a topic or guest suggestion? Let Diane know. The goal is to make sure you have the information you need to move your business forward. Thanks for joining us. Settle in and enjoy.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me. Today's podcast is sponsored by Audible.com. Audible.com is a leading provider of spoken audio entertainment and information. Listen to audiobooks whenever and wherever you want. Get a free book when you sign up for a 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/businessgrowth. I am really thrilled that this podcast, Accelerate Your Business Growth, continues to gain recognition as a great resource for small business owners, aspiring entrepreneurs, sales professionals, and business leaders in all areas of business. This is really due in large part to the guests who join me. These are folks who have expertise in a certain area of business, and they join me in a conversation where they share that expertise so that all of you can get the information you need to do better things in your business. Today, we are fortunate to have such a person. My guest today is Michael Roach. Michael is an American Marketing Association member and a professional certified marketer. His experience with the creative process and visual communications has allowed him to work on numerous creative projects, as well as internationally awarded film documentaries. Avid, a leading audio-video editing production software company, recognized Michael for his content creation skills and storytelling ability. Thanks so much for joining me today, Michael.
Sure thing. Thank you for having me.
I am very happy to have you, and we're going to be talking about social media, which is a huge issue for, I think, probably everybody, but definitely for small business owners who don't necessarily get it.
Right.
So, one of the things that I hear from people is that they're really wary of sharing things on the internet. It scares them. They don't really know what to share, or they don't want to look silly. So what do you say to those people about sharing?
Right. That's a great question. Well, about sharing, certainly, if you think about it in terms of less in terms of grabbing a megaphone, perhaps, and shouting it, on the top of a building like you normally would, maybe catching the attention of, I just try to think of this visual metaphor, catching the attention of people that are like, why are you doing that? Or people that the message is maybe not relevant to. Instead of doing that like with that megaphone, maybe sharing on social media is kind of like having a conversation with someone that is your potential customer, or someone that might be interested in a service that you provide or a product that you sell. So it's a way of making that connection, developing that relationship, completely much different from some of the other forms of media that we're used to. So instead of thinking as social as something very scary and like the huge dragon, think of it in terms of having a one-to-one conversation with that potential customer.
I really like that a lot. I think what people don't realize is that social media is really gives you the opportunity to connect on a more, I'm going to say intimate. It's probably not a great word, but a more direct and specific way to the people who you really should be engaging with, as opposed to needing to be like a billboard and hope that the people who you want to capture find you.
That's absolutely right. Certainly, you used the word intimate, and yeah, that word might scare some people, but I like that word in that it's more personal than, something that a message that really doesn't appeal to that potential customer. So connecting with them on a personal level and saying, I understand you. I understand your pain point. I understand your challenge or your issue, and I think I can help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's great. So here's another question that I get from
Sure.
people a lot. I'm curious where you stand on it, and that is, does a company need to be active on all of the social media channels?
Yeah, I get that question too a lot. I would say, pay attention to it, or do some research on some of the channels where your customers might be. It could be as simple as just like doing a simple search and seeing what your competitors, if they have an audience, if there's a large enough audience there. Certainly if there's, like in the 50s, or in terms of 50s, I mean like under 100, you know, you sense that that audience is not really growing, maybe that might not be a channel for you. Um, if what you do is very visual in nature, and you have tangible products, then I would say try to capitalize on some of the more visual platforms like an Instagram or Pinterest. Another way to kind of figure out whether or not that channel is appropriate is the audience type. So some of the channels skew a little bit younger. Some of them skew a little bit older in terms of demographics. Some more female than male, and vice versa. And I don't think you need to be everywhere, but you need to be somewhere, certainly.
You can't not be there, really.
Right.
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 But it's not like you have to be on all of the platforms.
Right. That's absolutely right. And I find though there are some exceptions. Certainly, there's some companies that they have a large global presence and they do business with all kinds of customers. They have different lines of business or different products. Um, large manufacturers, it makes sense. It might make sense for them to be on multiple platforms. But even then, they might notice that there's less interaction or engagement on some of those channels, and they might want to think about, you know, how they spend their time there.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I get that. That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
And so it feels to me like sometimes business people can get, I guess the word is convinced. Someone will say to them, well, you need to be on Facebook. Everyone's on Facebook. And so then they feel this almost obligation or compulsion that they have to go there, when that might not necessarily be the case.
Mm. Right. That's a good point. I think it makes it difficult for companies to be active on social if they can't find content to share.
Yeah.
Perhaps the business doesn't have content of their own. That's okay. You can still participate in, using social media to market your business, your company. You can curate content or use content that's already published, that's out there, centered around the problems or the challenges that your customers are facing, right? And a big bonus if you have some of that content on your website, because that will essentially drive traffic to your site and get people curious about what you do, and how you can make that connection to them. So certainly on Facebook, I think it's one of the more prominent social media channels, and it's where a lot of the eyeballs are. It's where the huge amount of audience is. Certainly there are privacy concerns, but by and large, I would say if a business wanted to get started with social, just see what's out there, and think about maybe getting maybe they should start thinking about posting on social and figure out how often and how much and those kinds of things, and looking at a calendar and figuring those kinds of things out.
Okay, so you just prompted me on a question that I wanted to ask. So let's talk about that. If someone's starting from scratch,
Mm-hmm.
what are the top 3 things they should know?
Starting from scratch. That wow, that's a great question. So I have to pick the top 3 things.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's tricky, right? There's so many things. Wow.
Well, what would you say?
Yeah.
Let's flip the question around.
Sure.
To, if someone was starting from scratch, what are the first things you would suggest they do? Maybe that's a better question.
Okay. The first things I think they might want to start doing is think about the message that you have. Maybe if the message is that you solve this, I don't know, particular problem or issue, or that your product does that, then make sure you have that, and make sure everyone in your organization agrees on that. If there is no alignment in what it is you provide as a service or a product, then there's going to be some confusion. As long as everyone can agree on that messaging, and then we can align it to business goals, and then I think we can start getting things on social media. So I'll give you an example.
Okay.
Let's say a company, they sell 5 different types of products, and someone says, well, let's start getting on social media, and we'll start promoting product number 2. Well, product number 2, or the second product there, maybe a product that's going to be retired or somehow dissolved in some case. So maybe that's not the message that you want to put out there.
Mm,
So really think people need to focus and hone in on the message that they want to put out there, and then write that message in a lot of different ways, and understand who is really saying this. So your company is speaking in a sort of voice or tone. It should match when you post on social media. So the message, learn the message that you're trying to say, agree on it, um, understand what your tone is or your what voice you're going to be using when you post on social, and try to come up with a way that you can organize some of these things that you're going to say across a period of time.
okay, so that sounds to me like, I think those are great points. And it sounds to me like um, the companies need to be consistent in their messaging and and the way that they're projecting it, so that people get used to this is who they are. Is
Oh
that
yes.
okay?
Yes, that's absolutely right. Um, the worst thing that you could do over time, or the worst thing a company could do over time, is dilute their message or say it in too many ways or in
Yeah,
too many different voices that the consumer is, I'm not exactly sure who this is, or I can't really differentiate them from the others in the
right,
market, you know.
right.
So
Yeah.
so you should really have a unique voice, and that message should really try to stand out amongst the others.
And to piggyback on that,
Mhm.
when you said dilute, it made me think of this, that it's not. I think sometimes what people do is they think, even if they have, um, or maybe especially if they have different target markets, they think that their messaging has to include everybody and everything, because
Mm,
otherwise they'll miss out on something. And unfortunately, that's not how people absorb messages. You need to really direct it toward them and their
mhm.
situation and your solution to that situation consistently, so that that's what they hear, because
Right.
otherwise they won't hear it at all.
Right. Yes, absolutely. Someone says like, these are not the exact words. If you're trying to talk to everyone, you're
Yeah.
essentially talking to no one, right?
No one, right, exactly.
Yeah, totally.
So true.
Yeah, so true. In fact, I was talking about this very thing this morning. I was meeting with a potential customer, and they were saying, "Well, what do we put out there on social in terms of our, Facebook?" And I said, "Well, you have to consider that there's some people that know who you are. Certainly, you're going to talk to them in one way, right?
Yeah,
And there's folks that do not know who you are at all. So you're going to be almost having like an introductory conversation with them, and there are going to be folks that have no idea your industry, and this whole thing, this idea is completely new to them. So they're like really, they really need beginner newbie introduction to this. So you're talking to almost three sets of people or segments, and I think you definitely need to keep those things in mind, and you can have all those different things going on during the course of a month in your social media calendar, talking to potential customers that might be at various stages of purchase
yeah,
and
right,
awareness. Yeah.
right. Because ultimately, the underlying message is the same. It's just the way you deliver it to the different audiences is so that they are hearing it.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
interesting. Okay. So, what other things can people do on social media other than putting out content? Are there other, activities they should be engaging in other than that?
Sure. Absolutely. You could certainly post things like videos, and well, that is putting out content, but you can ask questions,
Yeah.
certainly in the form of, a single question, certainly, but there are some tools where you can do polls. You can quiz people on their knowledge of a specific area, or that people assume that they know a lot about, or that could be very fun, especially with something that is potentially might be seen as kind of dry. You can make it fun, so it's engaging to that person on the other side of the screen. Other kinds of things you could do, more interactive kinds of situations or types where you might do a live stream. And it could be a series of I'm going to talk about this particular topic. You could pose questions to the viewers and do like an ask me anything kind of thing situation. Perhaps you could talk about current events or current news or things that are happening in the industry that people are concerned about. So there's so many different ways that you can reach out, and instead of just posting, an image or a piece of text or a link to an article, there's so many different dimensions you could be using, or people could use when they're posting online.
So that sounds like a big part of social media is really engaging with people so that you're having that relationship with them, so you're having that interaction with them over time.
Absolutely. Yes. Certainly shouldn't be a one-way thing where you're just sending things or posting. Certainly try to make it or think of it as a two-way conversation where, what do you think? Or what are your thoughts? Or, certain questions can certainly make people curious and say, well, you know what? I do want to voice my opinion, and you sometimes have to be prepared for it not being the flowery either. So, and that's okay, but that interaction is what you want, and that's what helps you build an audience, certainly.
Yeah, right. It's those connections. Okay, I'm going to take a quick sponsor break, and then I have some more questions for you.
Okay.
Accelerate Your Business Growth podcast is happy to be sponsored by Audible.com. Audible.com is a leading provider of spoken digital audio entertainment and information. They have over 150,000 titles to choose from, and you can listen to them on any device, including whatever you're hearing us on right now. And if you sign up at our link, which is audibletrial.com/businessgrowth, you get one free audiobook and a 1-month trial of the service. Some examples of books you can listen to on audible.com are The Inside Track by Peter Sage and The Irresistible Consultant's Guide to Winning Clients by David A. Fields. So visit audibletrial.com/businessgrowth, explore the books that are of interest to you, and receive one free audiobook when you sign up for the trial. Today we're speaking with Michael Roach about the fear of social media and how to actually get started. So Michael.
Yes.
If people are active on social media for their business, do they need a website, do you think?
That's a great question. I would say yes. If a company does not have a website, they're really missing out on some ways that they could be doing some extra communication and delivering some sort of value to that potential customer. Your website is really your salesperson when your office hours are done. It's your salesperson during the weekends and on vacations. So when you have that website, yes, it's of great benefit to a company, even if they do have a huge social presence.
Yeah, because I would think, I think it's such a great point that it's your salesperson when your office hours are done or you're on vacation or holiday. And also, you had said something earlier, which I think bears repeating, which is when you are doing this social media and you can link people back to your website. Like you could have a blog post on your website and then you could share it on social media. So you're getting people back to your website so they can really see more about your company than they're going to be able to see just through a post, through content or a quiz or whatever else you're doing.
Right. Yeah, certainly. Yeah, the goal is getting that traffic to the website. And
Yeah.
then to go a step further, once you do get that traffic to your website, how long you should certainly be asking the questions like, how long are they staying there? What other things are they doing when they're there? Are they getting there and then just leaving? So under your website, there's some sort of maybe analytics that you could employ that would be able to calculate or aggregate all kinds of data about web users when they visit the site. Something that social media really does not have, because really social is that's really borrowed land. You're borrowing Facebook's traffic, right?
That's
Uh,
a good point.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Facebook can change algorithms all day long,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we'll be complaining about that, but certainly our website, we have control over that as
Right.
business owners. So if we can get people there, we can lead them to all kinds of cool things, ebooks, white papers, videos, content that doesn't exist anywhere else, even more interactive and cool, fun things um, that your customers would be interested in. So certainly, yeah, I wanted to mention that as well.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great point. So, what do you see for the future when it comes to social? Do you see anything like on the horizon, or any thoughts of things people should be watching out for or getting involved with now because it's going to be big?
Yes, I love talking about this. In fact, I recently done a presentation on marketing trends for 2019, and social is like right up there in the front. Yeah. So with social, I would say things to pay attention to: privacy concerns, especially on Facebook. Um, I'm finding that whenever something happens in the news and they're talking about Facebook and user data, being compromised and things like that, then just be mindful that maybe if people are starting to scale back, maybe you want to scale back some of your content then,
Yeah.
or maybe scale back some of your advertising if you're doing any paid social media campaigns on Facebook. Perhaps you might want to diversify and do some paid social in other places that are less controversial, let's say, in
Sure.
terms of privacy. Other things, companies are going to continue to spend more on on social media because they know they can use some really advanced targeting tools. So um, I would say these social media companies, Facebook, um, Twitter, and LinkedIn, they're always trying to make their targeting that much better, and they're always putting out updates. So I would say watch for those things. You might be able to really put your finger on the ideal customer for your business. And if you have a way of targeting that, you can make sure that they are seeing that content that you're actually paying for. Other
Wow, I
thing,
think that's a huge thing.
yeah, that's super
Yeah.
huge. Yeah.
Yeah.
The easiest way to really stay on top of that is to go to like the blog um, website or the blog sites of these social media channels. So Pinterest has a blog, Facebook has a blog, Twitter has a blog as well, and you'll start to see more of those things that are not just consumer
Huh.
based, but they're more aligned for your business. Yeah, that's a huge tip there.
Yeah.
Um, Other things, shoppable posts. If you do any sort of e-commerce, um, shoppable, making your posts or any of your content shoppable in social media is going to continue to be huge, especially for retailers that are active on social.
Shoot, one more thing I got to figure out.
Right, totally. Um, Other things, I got about maybe three other things. Streaming video content, that's going to continue to be hot in that, it's real time. People want to know what's on your mind, or how you can talk about something that's currently relevant. And so streaming videos is going to continue to grow. Um, Vertical video on social media.
Hmm.
Yeah, that talk about how, when we were looking at a television, things were tended to be horizontal, but we're going to have to start thinking more in a vertical um, perspective when we are shooting content or taking a picture of something. um, and think horizontal, think vertical, think square. So all those different formats, keep those things in mind when you're taking a photo of something, or you're capturing some sort of content, because then if you capture it in those different formats, you can make it usable on different social media channels. But vertical video is going to explode, especially with
Wow.
like Instagram stories. And yeah.
Huh. That's
Mhm.
fascinating.
Yes. Um, and the other thing that Instagram TV or IGTV, that's something I think a lot of businesses should pay attention to, only because it could very well compete with YouTube. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, who knows? It might.
Right.
And right, I'm finding that um, really, when a lot of these products or sub products get launched within social media, these early adopters, they seem to really benefit before everyone else, before the latecomers. So um, certainly you want to test it out, you can experiment, but if you can get there before the masses do and really learn this platform, know how to master it, you'll be so far ahead of everyone else. And I think Instagram TV is probably one of those things that's going to be like that.
That's fascinating. Once again, another thing I'm going to have to figure out.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And it really, I mean, it feels like it changes every minute of every day. There's something new, which
Hmm.
I think is part of the reason why business, owners are confused. And sometimes they just say, "Oh, forget it. I'm just
Right.
not going to do anything."
Right.
Um, but I guess um, the what's the word I'm looking for? The words of wisdom are pick something, do it.
Hmm.
Figure out where your audience is, pick something and do it, and sort of go from there. Um, but which leads me to another question, which is,
Sure.
if there's someone listening and they've been using social media for a while
Hmm.
and they haven't seen really any growth in their audience, what would you say to them? What's going on with them, do you think?
Hmm. It could be that they maybe need to look at the message. Certainly, it would involve looking at the insights or the analytics of what you've been sharing. And so, yeah, so the person notices that things are starting to level out a bit. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just not really doing what they were hoping it would do anymore.
Right. So I think it would involve like a bunch of different tools. So if you are using like a social media like content calendar, I would say get a hold of that. See what topics you've been sharing. See which ones tend to do better. Um, and see which ones are the poor performing ones. You know, do more of what works, less of what doesn't. Sure. Right? Um, I know it seems like self-explanatory, but sometimes we need to hear some of these things
Yeah,
that
exactly.
you know, even I myself, like, sometimes I'm like, why did I do that?
Yeah.
I see the data right here. I need to make a change and, you
Yeah.
know, do something completely different based on what the data is telling me. Um, so try to do more of the posts that perform better, and look at what other kinds of things you could do visually, because I find that um, when we're scrolling, when we're all scrolling on social, we're really satisfying that part of our brain that just needs that satisfaction of
Mhm.
we're consuming. What we need to do, if you can, think about ways you can stop people in their tracks. If it's a bunch of colors or a set of colors, or maybe if it's video, if you hadn't been using video, try to find out what's that big idea that you can capitalize on, or something that you haven't tried before. Because I really think that can sometimes um, cut through, especially when people have grown accustomed to certain kinds of things they've been seeing. It's just like TV shows in a lot of ways.
Mhm.
When TV shows get canceled, sometimes you're blown away. Like, I love this show. How could they ever cancel the show? But the ratings show that over time people have kind of grown accustomed to expecting that these characters are going to get in certain situations. So, um, how do we do that with social media? Well, we could infuse new types of things, different types of content that we hadn't normally seen before. Um, Look at some of the things that perform better. When these companies, the social media companies, are launching some of these tools that make it more interactive to do things like new things in Instagram stories or highlights, see if you can utilize that and make things
Mhm.
different, or new or fun, entertaining, engaging, inspiring, that sort of thing. And I cannot get off of this podcast episode if I don't say anything about storytelling. Uh, uh, right,
You.
right. I have to. So, in talking about one company's message, and telling potential customers about what it is we do and what we solve as problems or challenges, we need to tell these things in the form of stories if you can. Find ways that you can either talk about stories in terms of a testimonial for a customer, or something that the company has experienced, because those stories are what keep people involved and engaged. So much so that people start to develop emotions around certain kinds of stories, and especially if they hit the heart and they're sentimental in some fashion. So if you can try to infuse stories into some of what you're doing on social, and you're sharing that, it lets the guard down and people start to tune in a little bit more.
That's great. I thank you for making sure that you said that. I think storytelling is a huge part of relevancy, right?
Mhm.
Relatability, getting
Right.
really, yeah, yeah. It's really um, something I think people need to remember, because that's also where a vulnerability is. They think, oh, people, I don't want to get too. I need to be professional, but that's still being professional.
Hmm.
It's just being connective and really sort of drawing a thread between
Yes.
where you are, what you do, what you offer, what it's done for companies or people, and
Hmm.
so people can feel that it would do that for them as well.
Oh yes, absolutely. Um, and there are so many different templates for stories that you can use, um, or even themes that can be beneficial if you're not sure where to start. Um, Certainly, some themes might be like, man versus nature, or man versus society. It could be man versus the product, or man versus the industry,
Mm.
good versus evil, like a before and after. Um, Rags to riches, how the company was, struggling, in the early days, and now, you're doing something very cool, even maybe being a corporate responsible corporate citizen or something. So there's conflict, loss of innocence. I mean, there's so many themes you could tap into for storytelling that make social media use for companies, for businesses, interesting and engaging.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much for sharing this information. One of the things that I really appreciate about this is that you've offered a lot of ideas and different things that people can look at as far as how they can be engaging, the things that they can be doing. So they're not pigeonholed. It's not like you're saying this is the one thing you need to do and it's going to make it happen for you.
Right.
Right? You're saying, listen, know your audience. Don't be afraid to storytell, do a video, whatever it is, surveys. I mean, it's just that there really is a variety, and people can pick the things that make sense to them, that they're comfortable with, that are unique and different, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Don't let the fear paralyze you, because we all make mistakes, and you're going to make them. Just just know that the social is also about making mistakes, but just like anything else, you learn from those mistakes and you do better. You learn from those opportunities.
Yep, absolutely. Wow, well, thanks very much. I think this was really valuable. So will you let the listeners know where they can find you, what you got going on, whatever you've got to share, please?
Sure, absolutely. Thank you. I wanted to thank you so much for the opportunity. I really appreciate you, providing this format to have a conversation. Listeners can find me on my website at michaelroachcreative.com. That's one place, michaelroachcreative.com on the website, as well as on LinkedIn. You can do a search for Michael Roach and you'll find me. Other ways, on Twitter as well as Instagram. It's Michael Roach Creative.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Any others?
That's about it. I'm on Pinterest too. I don't use that as much, but however, those are all the places. Definitely check out the website.
Cool. Okay. Great. Thank you. And I'd like to thank the listeners as well as our sponsor. If you would like a free trial of audible.com as well as a free audiobook, please go to audibletrial.com/businessgrowth. As always, continue to prosper and be curious. And until we meet again on another episode of Accelerate Your Business Growth, goodbye and good day.
Me, but also you. The Pharaoh fast forwards his favorite foreign film, Powder Donut. Okay, what's my line?
The only line I see here on the script is get options based on your budget with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive.
Oh man, that's a tongue twister, huh? I'm sorry, I'm gonna need a few more minutes. Bulbous Walrus, the Bulbous Walrus.
The Name Your Price tool, only from Progressive.
The owl ran afoul of the comatose coxswain.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Me, but also you. The Pharaoh fast forwards his favorite foreign film, Powder Donut. Okay, what's my line?
The only line I see here on the script is get options based on your budget with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive.
Oh man, that's a tongue twister, huh? I'm sorry, I'm gonna need a few more minutes. Bulbous Walrus, the Bulbous Walrus.
The Name Your Price tool, only from Progressive.
The owl ran afoul of the comatose coxswain.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
The average person experiences up to 10,000 marketing efforts each day. Those ideas are culled from millions of possibilities. The CMO Confidential podcast takes you behind the scenes to learn about the decisions, drama, politics, and glory that go with one of the most scrutinized jobs in the executive suite, the Chief Marketing Officer. Guests from all over the business world join Mike Linton, a 5-time CMO, to share stories about what it's really like in the marketing universe.